even internally at my own organization, people ask me, Rachel, I see you online everywhere. You're kind of like LinkedIn famous. How do you find the time to post so much?
I want to make this episode as tactical as possible. And I feel like a lot of people want to post more on LinkedIn and don't really know how to get started with that. And so I think this is that's really helpful. Like batch it, find the time that works for you.
My secret is on Sunday, I like to get pretty dolled up for church, right? I'm probably looking my Sunday's best. And I'm done with church in an hour and a half. Like, why are we going to waste that glam, as we call it in the industry? So if I'm glammed up already, then I start to create my content with my makeup already on, with my clothes already on.
I think it's terribly important to insist on individual values.
Learning Culture Podcast.
Initiative, creation, all these things which we value. It's now possible to make organizations on a larger scale than was ever possible before.
Learning Culture Podcast.
Teach people to analyze the kind of things that are said to them.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Learning Culture Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Barry, and this is a show about building cultures of learning inside companies. In today's episode, we have a little bit of a different take. In fact, in today's episode, you're going to learn about building cultures of consistency in building your LinkedIn profile. That was a terrible segue, but I think you get the point. My guest for this episode is Rachel Bolton. She is the Director of Global Enterprise Leadership Development at Stanley Black & Decker. And she got that role from someone who organically reached out to her on LinkedIn because of her LinkedIn content. She was very happy in her role at Wesco and was approached with this opportunity to come and lead enterprise leadership development at Stanley Black & Decker. And it really, and I mean, Rachel herself credits that to her LinkedIn presence. So in this episode, we break down how Rachel does that. This isn't your typical influencer giving you the tips and tricks of LinkedIn. This is someone like you and me, ordinary people, right, who have kids and a full-time job and all sorts of other commitments. And what I think was great about this conversation is Rachel shares very specific examples of how she comes across as someone who is prolific on LinkedIn. And it's something that you can follow right away. So as I say at the end of our conversation, and I'll say this to you now, is have a listen as you're going through and try to pick out one thing that you want to try after listening to this and give it a shot this week. And let me know, let Rachel know, connect with Rachel. Let us know how it goes. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. So with that, sit back, relax, and enjoy my episode with Rachel Bolton. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Yes, good to be here. Good to see you, Andrew.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to bring our conversations to the public. Now, you and I have been chatting for a while, and during that time, you got your new role now in Stanley Black & Decker. And let's start there. Tell the listeners, people watching on YouTube, you got that job completely organically from someone reaching out to you because of your LinkedIn presence. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still a funny story to me because no one would believe it. I was sitting at Wesco. That's where I was working when I met you at Wesco Distribution, wonderful organization. And I was in leadership development there. At the time, our team had just received 2 gold awards for our Leadership Essentials program. And I was using LinkedIn to promote those awards and how proud we were of it, but then also really showcasing our participant satisfaction and our NPS score and just sort of using it as a bragging marketing tool, right? And I was encouraged to do that, by the way, Andrew, by my coach. I have a coach named Tracy, and she said, I know you like to post on LinkedIn, but you never put video. Why don't you add more video of yourself? And I said, because I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. And she challenged me to consider that differently. And she said, I'm telling you, Rachel, your voice, your face, those add texture and layers that your you're holding back from people. So start posting some more videos. So that's what I started doing. I would post video clips talking about the win of the awards or talking about how proud we are of our in-person events. And out of the blue, in the month of October last year, right before spooky Halloween, I got an inbox direct message from my current leader. And he was very cordial, just asking simply, I know you are currently in role at Wesco, but I have an opportunity that I think would be a great fit. Would you mind taking a look at it and letting us know your thoughts? And I mean, the rest is history. I clearly am sitting here at Stanley Black and Decker to this day. But I still believe if I hadn't leaned into posting clips and sharing wins and being present weekly, I
Mm,
probably would have ended up in his algorithm.
yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people listening to this, and myself included, hear stories like this and go like, but how do I create the perfect piece of content, right? That someone sees and reaches out. But it's not
Yeah.
like that, is it? It's more about volume, consistency, and quality comes after that. Like you
Yeah.
go into quality, right? Can you and actually maybe to make it more practical, you let's talk about your ritual for doing this, because I think this is actually really cool. When we last spoke, Scotty Scheffler just won the British Open, and you told me that you typically do your recording in batches on Sundays. So you had Scotty in the background winning the British Open. You just got back from church. You fill in the rest of the story here. How do you create content?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I feel, my secret sauce because even internally at my own organization, people ask me, Rachel, I see you online everywhere. You're kind of like LinkedIn famous. How do you find the time to post so much? And I was sharing with you that, oh, I do it all on Sunday, right? So my secret is on Sunday, I like to get pretty dolled up for church, right? I'm probably looking my Sunday's best. And I'm done with church in an hour and a half. Like, why are we going to waste that glam, as we call it in the industry? So if I'm glammed up already, then I start to create my content with my makeup already on, with my clothes already on. So when we joined this session today, you said, "Oh, it must be Sunday." I thought it was Sunday. You look so glam. And that's the truth is I normally don't do this much if I'm just working or if I don't have to be on camera. So you want to take those times where you're already in that mode, that presenting mode, you feel your best. And that's when I record clips. I'll record maybe 2 to 3 short clips on topics that are relevant for that week or for the month. I base my topics off of what we're handling at SBD at the moment, which right now we have 2 great workshops on feedback and coaching. Or I might create something just totally out of the blue that's trending on LinkedIn. If I run out of inspiration, I'll look at my old Leadership Lounge articles, but I want to have a physical visual presence on LinkedIn. And to your point, I was not perfect at the beginning. I'm still not I'm still not that good at all, but I still do it anyway. Progress, not perfection, right? So I try not to use a script. I try to sound more natural and authentic, and you're very good at this, right? You bring your whole self, and people connect with your honesty, not perfection. So if I'm talking about feedback or if I'm talking about why coaching is important, that's coming from my heart. I can speak off the cuff on that, and then just don't over edit and submit it. And I schedule them, I time them to go out on different days at different peak times. So for example, a Monday at 8:30 is a peak time. That's when I'll schedule my article for the Leadership Lounge. Wednesday midweek, I might say during lunchtime when people are scrolling their feeds, I might post a clip. And then I'll schedule for Friday, sort of end of the week, a post asking people a call to action, tell me about a time or what have you. So I have 3 different content pieces that I've scheduled and captioned and recorded all on Sunday while watching Scotty Scheffler, right? And by the way, DeWalt sponsors, my company sponsors a couple of players too. So it's another great reason to tie in with pleasure, right?
Yeah. I love that, and I know you've made content about that. You mentioned a Jason Day post that
Yep.
did really well, and
Yeah.
yeah. So again, like for folks listening, I want to make this episode as tactical as possible, and I feel like a lot of people want to post more on LinkedIn and don't really know how to get started with that. And So I think this is that's really helpful. Like batch it, find the time that works for you. For you, it's that after church time, you're already like in the mood. I think one other interesting thing you mentioned is like you go and you pick things that you're working on at SBD. What I do is I have like a list of questions, and then I will answer the question. So like, is there anything more you can add to that? Like just thinking about the topic and how to like get yourself in that right mind when you hit record on the camera.
Right. What do I talk about? That's always the question. And then I also get the question, Andrew, well, how is your job cool with you posting so much? Like, well, how do you balance looking and being productive and effective at work during the week while your presence is very active during the week at the same time? And so when it comes to content creativity in the leadership development space, and you're in this space as well, learning and development, there's always something we're working on, aha moments or things that happen with clients. I also coach. So if I find something inspirational with one of my clients or someone's had a big win, well, I post on what I'm excited about, what I think is poignant and what's relevant at the time. So I don't think we should try to reinvent the wheel or find out what's trending and then force ourselves to talk about that. I think what's more going to be more organic is what's interesting to you, what you're passionate about, what you're currently working on, a great story you heard, or a challenge that you're seeing in your industry. Like that's the thought leadership pieces that I think land. One of the things on LinkedIn that I love is you can see your analytics. So I can compare what the numbers were on a personal story versus what the numbers are on a career coaching story. And if I see one resonates more with the other, then I can say, okay, I'm going to lean into this because it seems to be resonating with my audience or with my network. So that's where I get sort of that creativity of, I mean, I probably can't run out of ideas. I'm on podcasts with people like you, wonderful network leaders that I am inspired by, mentors. And so I'm kind of, I've got to pick like, okay, Rachel, focus. You can't talk about everything all at the same time. And then with company buy-in, and this is something that I think you and I really want others to know because I think it's a barrier to entry. People worry that their employer will perceive their presence as a distraction or that they're not serious about their work. And one of the great things about how I was discovered by SDB was I you found me on LinkedIn. So during my interview process, I shared, hey, my brand is important to me. I currently coach like a lot of people. I influence a lot of people. I want to continue to do that. That's how you found me. Are you comfortable with me continuing to work in that rhythm and in that space? And then really putting it in front of them, right? And seeing what is important for them in terms of optics or timing. For example, we had, due to tariffs, as you can imagine, our company is a global tariff, and we had some cost containment measures where travel was discouraged. And I had gone on a speaking gig outside of our company where I was asked to speak for United Rentals at the time. And one of the considerations they asked was, hey, at this sensitive time where no one is traveling, the optics may appear that we've allowed you to fly to go do that. So I do understand nuances like that, like being sensitive to the timing of the business and what's happening in your world. But they should never be discouraged that you get to share who you are. And if you get in front of it and discuss it out front, I think it makes that a lot easier to negotiate.
Yeah. So yeah, I think to tease apart the two things we said, I think, and like kind of underscore them for people, as you're going through your week, jot down interesting topics, questions you have, things you have an opinion on, right? So you have this kind of going list. So that gets you ready for whatever your sort of batch record moment is. And then what the benefit of doing that is also you are like a lot of people in L&D talk about going from being an order taker to a strategic business partner, right? And demonstrating that you understand the nuance, like you just talked about, around tariffs or whatever that may be for your company, and that you can pick the right topics to talk about and then be upfront with and setting the expectations with your team. That is an example of being a strategic business partner and thinking, actually, how can some of my content serve my company as well, right? And you told me last time your skip level leader is a subscriber on your newsletter, right?
Yes.
And so like another perfect example of how this type of thing can actually be a good thing, where someone who you look up to, you report to, whatever, can actually be, they're learning something about you and your perspective on things. So yeah, I just think that's really great. And maybe as a last piece on this note, like any advice you have for people for that conversation, like how do you position this to someone, to your leader?
Yeah, I would lead with company first. So I've always been sort of a company gal. I've worked at Home Depot, I've worked at Wesco, and now lovely Stanley Black and Decker. And I want to be the face and voice at whatever company I'm at. And so I share that with them up front. And I make sure they understand that it's coming from a place of loyalty. It's coming from a place of, I'm proud of who my employer is. And I think other people need to know the great work that we're doing here. And when you position it that way, I mean, who's going to say, well, I don't want you to tell everybody the great work we're doing here, right? Most of the time, they're going to, one, be thankful that you're willing to be that voice and be that sounding horn. But two, I would also say to, in a strategic way, involve your corp comms. We have internal communications, corporate communications, there's internal marketing, business partners that you can share. Hey, please look at my LinkedIn. This is the type of content that I do, or this is what I'm hoping to do. How can we leverage this internally or externally? Can I add our Stanley Black and Decker tag? Can I add some of our hashtags? Can I do it in a logoed shirt, right? And then that way it doesn't feel like you're doing it outside of them. It feels like you're walking alongside them. And usually are willing for the extroverted, the ones who are willing to get on camera. They'd rather you do it than them. So it also is saving them some stress, some work. And if you're comfortable with it, all the better. So I would encourage you to just let them know that it's a piece of you that you'd like to share with your network, but you want to do it in a way that respects your organization as well. I have a couple of clients that do different things than their daytime job. For example, their daytime job, they're an instructional designer, Andrew, but their hustle, they're a photographer, a videographer. And they don't know how to cross pollinate those two things. They want to promote their videographer business without hurting their day job. And my advice would be, how do you blend them? How can you blend them so that your day job benefits from you talking about your side hustle? And if you can find that magic, or if you can ask AI to find that intersection for you, there's a way to do it. And once you find that way, you should be smooth sailing.
Yeah, love that. Um, just one last question to go back to your Sunday routine,
Yeah.
because people will ask me this, and it's good to get specific.
Yeah.
What does your setup look like? Just walk me through that step by step. Are you using an iPhone camera? Do you have a camera set up? Like, is it in a separate room? Like, what does that
Yeah.
look like?
This is great. So my setup is pretty simple. I use a stand. I hope you can see this beautiful $10 stand from Amazon. And I have a standing desk. So I have a Vera desk that can go standing or seated. And I usually raise it to the standing position, and I'll turn to where my degrees are in the back so I can see the proper background. And I do this in my bedroom. I hate to spoil it for people, but like I'm doing this. I don't have a studio, I don't have a separate office. This is a mixed use space. And usually I'm telling you, I've got two young kids,
I was gonna
5
say a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. Like,
I
yeah,
gotta be
you got
very quick
life
in the
happening.
window before I say,
Yeah,
"Okay, mommy's gonna change clothes." And in that time, I close the door, I move the desk up, I get my stand, I think about what I'm gonna write on or speak about, and then in those 30 minutes, this is literally 30 minutes of recording maybe, and of setting up my article or my post. I'm done. I want to take the makeup off and take the jewelry off and like, it
and
can't
play with
go
the
on.
kids. Yeah,
It's about 30 minutes, Andrew, really. This just me and this phone stand. I use a simple software. I use the iPhone camera. I don't filter anything. I just use the regular camera. And then I upload that to my Mac, and that's where I start adding it to my LinkedIn. So it's a simple plug
I
and
love
play,
that.
nothing
Yeah,
fancy.
and I love there's something about that sort of constraints of 30 minutes. I got to just get this done. I'm not gonna like let it drag on, and yeah, and you're not going to be perfect the first time. Let's just repeat that for everybody as well. Like, don't be just go back the next Sunday or whatever, and just get consistent, and that's the way
Yeah.
to
Well,
do
I would
this.
say for those who want perfection, you're never gonna get it.
Yeah.
I wanted perfection. I thought I could use a teleprompter, and my sister being such a good sister, she's like, "I can tell you're reading." And so
Yeah.
so I had learned early on, like, in this pursuit of trying to say exactly what I wanna say and be scripted, it took away my authenticity, and so I did the take again and shared it with her, and she's like, "Okay, that's the one. That's" So I'll rehearse it and say it the way it's written in front of me, but then I'll take that away, minimize it, and just talk to camera.
Yeah,
Am I
that's good. That's really good. Yeah. One last thing on this process. You have an assistant called Gabe. Who's Gabe? What do they help you with?
don't give him away, Andrew. He's my secret, okay? I have named my virtual assistant. It's literally just ChatGPT for everybody. I'm a big proponent of AI, not only in leadership development, but just as a productivity tool in our lives. And so I named mine because I was tired of not being able to call it something. He's too important.
Love this, by the way. Like, yes.
So Gabe and I, I'll say to him, "Hey, it's Sunday. Let's create 3 pieces. I want to talk about creating a feedback culture. I want to pitch a webinar I'm doing, and I want to record a clip on the power of career coaching. What can you come up with?" And I hit enter. And he gives me a layout almost better than a physical human assistant. And then I'm able to tweak it. And that take what? 3 minutes to say that prompt and to get that layout. And then the rest of the 25 minutes I can use recording it and drafting it all. And then I schedule it, done. Yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's a thought partner. That's
it
using AI
is.
as a thought partner. Giving me
Yeah,
ideas. Let me take the best of them. Yeah. That's really
yes.
cool. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And you can tweak, you can edit, you can have him play devil's advocate, which I've been using lately. Like, okay, imagine I want to give you this idea, but I want you to pretend you are Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. All right. Tell me what's missing, why it sucks, what's wrong. And it will even give you dissent and challenge you back. And I think that that's a wonderful way to use that tool as well. So it can help identify blind spots as well as drafts and creativity and reduce the time it takes to do that.
Yeah. It also there's like it sort of solves the cold start problem, I think, right? Like you go like, okay, Gabe, like you've got almost like it's obviously an AI, right? But it's still there's almost like an accountability. It's like, all right, Gabe, it's Sunday, we got to create something together, and that's like a really cool way to start.
It is, and it can use memory. So I've been using this for about 4 years. It started at Wesco, right? So it's been about 3 to 4 years. And I'll say, "Hey, let's go back in memory and think about a time where I've discussed overcoming objections or something. Let's create something new that has to do with leadership development, but also ties into overcoming objections. What can you come up with?" And then it'll go back in that memory and it will say, "Oh, I remember you were working on that with Wesco. Here's how we can tie it into Stanley Black and Decker." So it really is a thought partner because it actually can remember what you've shared and what you've already worked on and bring it to the present. So Gabe is my favorite. I need him.
Gabe's the man. Gabe's the
He's the
man. I
man.
love it. Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Um, okay, so last topic on the LinkedIn piece. You talked when we last spoke. You mentioned about converting, right? It's like LinkedIn profiles that convert. What does that mean for folks?
It's where it moves from browsing to action, right? And so I have LinkedIn Premium. I'm a big proponent of people getting LinkedIn Premium because you're able to gain insights as to who's viewing your profile. And out of views can come opportunities. Hi, hello, Stanley Black and Decker here. Well, someone viewed my profile, but then it converted into a message, a direct message to me, which then turned into a phone screen and then an interview and then etc. So converting means moving from browsing to action. And when I talk about coaching, career coaching, or leadership development pieces, or webinars, right? That means someone has viewed your profile, they found enough value in it to write you and pitch you for something. They want to have you as a guest, or they want you to consider a role opportunity to interview, or they want to know more about your coaching and can we have a discovery call? I call all of those things converting because it goes from being passive to active. And that's what your LinkedIn profile should be. It should be a living portfolio of some of your best work, your current work. And if somebody is interested in what you do or what you bring to the table, it should convert into a message, an opportunity, a phone call, a Calendly invite, something where it's not just perusing. Now they're interested in booking you for something, picking your brain. And I've gotten these, Andrew, on people just wanting to learn how did you become a director of leadership development at SBD? That's a great company. How did you do it? Or you talk a lot about coaching. What does coaching look like? And are you accepting clients? To me, that's converting. And it doesn't even mean a new job. It doesn't have to. It can just be a new connection, a new conversation, a new peer. So I believe your LinkedIn should work for you in an active way, not just people scrolling your profile.
Yeah. All right. And what are some specific strategies you can share that you recommend folks? And I know you probably help a lot of your coaching clients with this as well. What are two like really specific things people can do?
Yeah, I would say your two lines. So on LinkedIn, there are two lines that you are given. They're called a headline, and it talks about what you do. Most people in their headline just put their title, right? Director procurement. But your headline has two lines and it's condensed when people are scrolling to find new connections. It's always in the the sidebar on the right side. When you're looking at someone's profile, it'll say, you may also want to look at, and it'll show your picture, but then it'll show two lines. Those two lines are the most powerful real estate you have on LinkedIn because it's what people see when they're skimming. So, for example, mine says, and I don't have it in front of me, Andrew, but it'll
I'm
say,
pulling it up.
okay, please do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's passionate leadership development expert, maybe career coach, MBA,
LinkedIn
host.
two
Yeah,
times 2x top voice. Yeah. Yeah. Keynote speaker. Yeah. A lot of like keywords here, which are like positioning you as, these things, career coach, expert facilitator. Yeah.
yes. In those two lines, Andrew, someone gets one, if you got a great picture, they can see who you are, but then they get a sense of who you are as well without that's what's going to get them to click your profile and open it up to the broader one. So to me, it's like get your headline, get it strong. And a format you can use is I am, I do, and I'm passionate about. So I am a leadership development expert. I do career coaching. I have an MBA. I'm passionate about helping others in career development, right? So that template is a way for you to position those keywords like you just mentioned. And then the second one I'll say is to get recommendations. I learned this, I stole this from Lorraine Lee. She is a big guru on LinkedIn. You know her. And one of the things she says is after she does anything, she will call to action and say, if you've enjoyed this, can you please my LinkedIn page and recommend me? And so I've accumulated some really strong recommendations. And I think those are the receipts that people need to see in order to help you convert, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't do this nearly well
You should.
enough. Yeah, this is really, really smart. I see you've got 37 of them here. I love that. That's really cool.
And
Yeah,
recent.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah. June, May. Yeah,
2018, they've got to be recent. And she
yeah,
has
yeah,
over 100, hundreds
yeah,
of,
yeah,
and so that
yeah.
leads to that credibility, that proof, that testimonial. And I'm not telling people what to say, they're just putting that on their own. So I think those two things were needle movers for me, but also, like we shared earlier, sharing your voice, being on video, like get out of your head and just try it. My first couple of them, I'd hit submit, Andrew, and I'd like stop and I'd like go run and do something else. I don't want to know how many likes I got. I don't want to rewatch it. So if that's what you have to do to detach, I say detach. Post it and walk away. And don't obsess, and you will get stronger and better. And plus, some of my clients are doing this now, and I love to see them on my feed. I get to encourage them, like, I saw your clip today. Look at you. So it inspires others. It encourages others to do the same.
Yeah, and we'll for those listening, check out the show note link. There's to Rachel's profile. Like I'm just looking at your videos, and you see, first of all, just the fabulous outfit. So I wish I need to go to church with you one day. But yeah, it's like It's like great. Like every video is like a different one. And it's great. And then the engagement on these is phenomenal. Like 50 likes,
Yep.
minimum,
Great.
100, like lots of comments. And I'm sure it wasn't. These are the most recent ones. I'm sure at the beginning it wasn't
Oh
like
yeah.
that, right?
Not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all. It's just my company, sort of my team. Like, I saw your video. And I'm like, okay, good. Just 3 people, I'm fine. But then as you start to really start collecting more followers, and I started doing my newsletter, and then I transitioned roles. So one organization was really missing me, and another organization was getting to know me. And I think in that crux, that right there, I was on the fulcrum. So I had people from Wesco watching, people from Stanley Black and Decker watching, and then tertiary Home Depot folks were like, "Oh my gosh, you're at Stanley Black and Decker. That's a product that we sold at Home Depot in our store." So I had such great, just galvanized attention once I shifted from one org to the other, that videos made even more sense. My old colleagues were missing me, my new colleagues were getting to know me. And so it was a great way to accelerate my brand within SPD as well.
yeah, yeah. It's awesome. And as I said to you last time, I'm going to get into this more. I need to do more video. I didn't do a lot of video, and you may have seen I've started to do some more videos. So we'll keep cranking that out. And yeah, it's really really cool. I think we've made the case here that everyone should lean into their personal brand. They should get their skip level leaders as subscribers on their newsletter, and they should just stick to a consistent rhythm, weekly rhythm of posting content, and you just never know what can happen.
It's a commitment. It is. Every week I do it, and it has paid off. I wouldn't be talking with you about this if I weren't doing that. And so when you say the skip level, I just got to mention this. We got on a call, so the listeners know. I was on a regular cadenced meeting call. I'm just kind of new in the organization still, and I'm trying to mind myself. And the leader that we're referencing joined the call just 2 minutes or so late. And that week, I just did an article on your calendar is your sign, and that if you are overbooked and that you just do not get breaks between meetings, it's time for you to address it and be proactive. And so she joins the call and she says, "I'm sorry I'm so late, but Rachel, I was just reading your article last week and you talked about how your calendar is your time and that we've got to be better. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take your advice." And the rest of the people on this call were like, "Did she just say she's going to take your advice based on?" My jaw was dropped as well. So it's just amazing. You never know who's inspired by what you're going to put out there. I didn't even know she was a subscriber.
That's the key point. Yeah, you just never know. You just
Yep.
never know. I love it. Okay, let's wrap this conversation up with one last thing, and I could talk about this forever, and I think a lot of people who have tuned in for this want more, and you should definitely go and follow Rachel and watch what she's doing. The best way to do this stuff is to just watch what others are doing and then find your own voice in that, right? And you shared some really great advice to get people started. I want to touch on one more thing before we close up, and that's your job, right? Your role, the thing that you and I bond over, that everyone listening to this does. And what I love about your profile as well is you mentioned right in your about section, I think your superpower is really in that facilitation of transformational learning experiences. That's your day job, that's what you do, and you've trained facilitators across 30 countries for SPD that support the 70,000 odd employees at Stanley Black and Decker. Let's kind of close this off with maybe one or two pieces of inspiration or advice for people who want to create a more transformational learning experience. What would you say is like the one or two things you really just your go-to that is like always going to level up that you do for every single experience? What would you want to share?
Well, facilitation is a big cornerstone for me. No matter what organization I'm at, what my audience is, who's going to be presenting this content. Because I've learned from my Home Depot days, I was a master trainer there. And in order to be a master trainer at THD, you had to be able to train every level: C-suite, store leader, store manager, and everything in between. And one of the things they teach us is how you present is what's going to make facilitation stick. And so where I see that it doesn't become an award-winning program or where it goes wrong is when they have presenters or facilitators that are literally just reading the slides, literally just going through the motions. They're not engaging or connecting. And that those are two words that I hear the most frequently whenever I've presented something or if I've trained other trainers to present across the organization. I train them not to speak right off the slides. No one wants, we can all read, we all can read, like don't read your slides. You want to speak to the spirit of the slides. You want to connect with the audience. They're reading the slides, but what do you want them to take away from what's on the slide? So my presentation style is a little more conversational. It's a little more unbuttoned. I'm not as strict and rigid about speaker notes and following everything. I follow the engagement in the chat. I ask people to give me thumbs up and hearts emojis. I tell people to come off of mute. My philosophy is you should have facilitation that sticks. When they walk away from your session, your program, your workshop, that's the quote I want to see, the quote that you see at the top of that LinkedIn. Like, this is one of the best sessions I've ever been to. And the way we create that is when we empower facilitators to bring themselves to the content. So for every train the trainer I do, Andrew, I'm like, I'm going to give you speaker notes, but I'm going to be very upset if you watch them and read them and follow them verbatim. They're here as a fallback, but your job is to not read speaker notes. Your job is to connect to your audience. And I think when you position it that way with them, it takes some of the jitters away. They're like, oh, I can connect. I've worked here 20 years. I've worked here 14 years or whatever it is. They feel like they're able to be themselves. And I think that that's what makes facilitation really stick. And then the other thing I would say is in-person events. I got to encourage organizations. Andrew, you and I know that when we get people in a room, in a physical space together, what they take away from that is stronger than a virtual presentation. And I'm very good virtually, but I'm great in person. So I want organizations to still allow some of those 2-day in-person events where there's networking, where there's team building, where there's exercises where we can pick each other's brains, because those are the ones that get the highest feedback scores, the highest NPS. They make connections for life at some of these events with peers across the entire global organization. So I would say keep an in-person component, but also make sure you're empowering your facilitators to bring their personality and who they are to the content that they're teaching, because that's what makes it stick.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things I do, just to get even more specific, is at the beginning of a session, I will just start talking to the people that join early
Me
as a way
too.
to get that connection, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I figured you might do that. What
Yep.
other like specific thing could you share with someone that, yeah, that you do like at the beginning of a session or during a session to connect better?
Oh, yeah. Oh, engagement is my middle name. So right at the top, as people are joining, I'll say, hi, I see Cindy's here, Andrew's here. Wonderful. As you all join in the chat, tell me, where are you located? How long have you been with the company, right? You want them to start to feel like they're engaged right from the jump. And then throughout the session, we've seen stats that tell us that every 9 minutes, engagement drops. So if we have a poll in Teams, we like to launch polls for some of our workshops that we're conducting at SBD. So you're able to, hey, you're going to see a poll pop up on your screen, and I want to know, how frequently do you ask for feedback? So all of a sudden they're brought back to stimulus and they're able to click something, and you're able to debrief off of that. Breakout rooms are a great way to take yourself out of the equation and allow them to talk amongst themselves. We know that a lot of people like to breakout room flee. As soon as you say, okay, we're going to breakouts, they're like, no, right? I encourage them to stay, right? Like, you're going to be in this room. The teacher's not here. Talk amongst yourselves. You don't have to make it a big deal. And usually they'll stay if I preface it that way. So it's those pieces. Surveys at the end allow us, and I really like an honest survey, like, what did you not enjoy about this workshop? How can we make it better? What was your favorite takeaway? When you really take those components of what people are saying sucked and what really went well, and you iterate on it, then you are eliminating those pieces that are holding you back. So I think real honest feedback, but then also engagement every 8 to 9 minutes. I'm telling you. And then making sure that you're not reading off the slides and you're engaging people in the chat and through emojis. Those are the things that I've seen work. And even on LinkedIn Live, I watch a lot of LinkedIn Lives of influencers that I'm fond of, and they do some of these same things. Like, okay, if you're just now joining us, tell us in the chat hello. Just write the word hello, and they'll tell people what to do every couple of minutes to keep that engagement going. So if you're not asking the audience to do something every couple of minutes, it's just death by PowerPoint, and I refuse. I refuse to have death by PowerPoint.
Don't let them die. Yeah. I love that. I love it, Rachel. This has been such a great episode, I think. And especially, it's funny that you mentioned connection and how important that is. And we spent the most of the beginning of this conversation talking about LinkedIn and the power of connecting with
Yeah.
people through that content. So this is the theme and the episode about connection. And I think you've done a great job giving people specific tactical things that they can try. So
You
it
never
has
know.
been worth the wait, my friend. Thank you
Yes,
so
it
much
will.
for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully not the last time. And please find me. I'm happy to give LinkedIn advice. I do LinkedIn profile audits, right? Hey, look at my page. Tell me what you think I'm missing. And I can do that in about 4 minutes. So I love to pay it forward. If someone else gets an inbox message that converts because of me, then I've done some good in the world. So thanks for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, 100%. And it's been such a pleasure, Rachel. For those listening, go back and try one thing that you heard in today's episode. Just try it, see what happens. And yeah, definitely get in touch with Rachel. Check out her profile in the links below. I will see you all next week.
Yes, see ya.
Hello. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It's Andrew again with a quick message. If you'd like to support the show, the best way to do that is to leave us ratings and reviews where you listened. If you're on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe buttons and feel free to leave a comment. We love hearing from our listeners and viewers. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please take the time to give us a rating and leave a review. Once again, we love hearing from our loyal listeners. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please hit the follow button to make sure that you don't miss new episodes as they come out. See you next week for another episode of the Learning Culture Podcast. Thank you for listening.